And now you've heard reference to the DKP, which is Dr. Kori Propst from the Diet Doc.
I'm Kori Propst. I am the Vice President and Wellness Director at the Diet Doc, and I'm Dr. Joe Klemczewski's partner. Yeah, I'm a health psychologist, and I manage the general population nutrition and weight loss program at the Diet Doc. And we do, as you said, we focus on not just the physiology, but also the psychology. And so I have a mental edge mindset and peak performance program that a lot of our clients are involved in. And that's another, piece of the Diet Doc pie. We do performance and competition prep. It's mainly about sustainable nutrition, and it's not just weight loss either. It's health and fitness and overall longevity and well-being to live your best life. That's what we really focus on. And yes, as Desiree said, I used to compete. I formally retired in, I think it was 2011. I was a pro in bodybuilding, figure, and fit body. And now my focus is cycling. So I went from bodybuilding to an endurance sport, and all I can say is that I'm having the time of my life.
Wait, hey, it is that time of the year, and by now folks have made all kinds of New Year's resolutions, and sadly, probably about 3/4 of those folks have already abandoned those New Year's resolutions, whatever they are, and mostly they deal with health or self-improvement of some sort. And so we brought the DKP, Dr. Kori Propst from the Diet Doc, on the show with us tonight to talk to us about the psychology of New Year's resolutions and why they fail, because we want you to win at your health and wellness goals in 2019. And so I think part of that is understanding why they don't work and figuring out what will work to get us to the places they want to go. So, Dr. Kori, talk to us about New Year's resolutions and why we're so terrible at them.
Well, I think we're, in general, terrible about sticking with goals, period. Not just New Year's resolutions,
you got it.
But New Year's resolutions are a little bit special because I don't know that we put a lot of thought into what the process is going to be. So one of the things that, as I was thinking about this topic that I wrote down is that our attention when we set a New Year's resolution it's too often resting on that big outcome, right? The big achievement, the massive accomplishment, rather than the actual process of it. And there's a few different ways that I think I can make this more real for people. The first would be, I grew up in a farming community. Super small town of 4,500 people in Wyoming.
Yeah.
I rode horses. People were farmers. They grew hay and vegetables, and they grew things. They grew cattle even, okay? So farmers have to plant things, and then they have to cultivate them. And then they have to harvest them.
Yes.
Well, the cultivation piece can take a rather long time.
Yes.
Okay? And when we plant something, when we plant a goal, when we plant that idea and that intention to lose weight, for example, we want the harvest like yesterday.
Right now. Oh, yeah.
That 50 pounds, that better be gone tomorrow.
We want it out of the box or from the bottle.
We do. We want a pill. We want a potion. We want it to be immediate. The cultivation piece, that incubation piece, is missing. It's patience. It's It's rather mundane. It requires consistency. It's a discipline. It is. But here's another example. I'll give you this. So imagine that, Desiree, I give you, you guys have a choice. You can take $3 million right now, okay, or you can take 1 cent and we'll double it every day for 31 days. You choose $3 million and KP chooses the penny. All right?
Yeah, that's what I'm for.
Okay, so Desiree's like, super sweet. I'm going to $3 million. I'm going to go buy that car that I've been drooling over, and you know what? That wardrobe that I've been wanting to replace, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to replace that. Okay, awesome. KP's like, all right, I got a penny.
I got that penny.
What am I going to do with this? So 10 days later, Desiree spent a bunch of her $3 million, and KP's got $5. Okay, because we're doubling it every day for 31 days. So first day you have 1 cent, second day you have 2, third day you have 4, fifth day, fourth day you have 8 cents, fifth day you have 16 cents. In 10 days you have $5.
Wow.
In 20 days, you've got 5,000. KP,
Wow.
in 30, guess how much money you have? In 30 days, guess how much money you have?
More money than $5.
More money than $3 million. You've got $10 million. Why? Because you waited, you were patient, you started small, you acted smartly, and you did things stably, and you ended up with big results. Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at this from a weight perspective. Okay. Let's say, because when we lose weight, it's like, okay, 500 calories for 7 days equals 3,500 total calories. That's 1 pound of fat, right? So I need to reduce my calories by at least 500. What if you just decided to do like 125 calories? And you're going to take maybe 2,000 extra steps a day. Within 31 months, okay, yeah, that's almost 3 years, but A, you're not starving.
True.
B, you don't give up, right? 3 years still eating the foods you love. 125 calories really is it's like half a snack for most people. In 31 months, you've lost 30 pounds. So here's my point. We are way too quick to give up. We don't consider the compound effects of really small movements over time, consistently, with stability. Small, smart, and stable is how I like to say it.
The 3 S's. I got it. Like it.
Yeah, so it's basically like having a really popular protein flavor like chocolate, and then just taking your time with the snickerdoodle until it basically outsells all of that chocolate. And then Kaelin looks like the #1 guy for choosing the right protein.
Or it's like, you know, the flash in the pan snickerdoodle, but the tried and true chocolate just keeps chugging along, still putting up numbers, maybe not flashy like the snickerdoodle, but at the end of the day, still very strong and impressive.
Exactly. But you wouldn't, when you start selling the chocolate, it doesn't look super fantastic. But when you look at it over the course of a year or 2 or 3, it's like, holy cow, look at all the sales that this has been making and how much money it's earned.
Bazinga.
Bazinga.
You guys,
this is great.
I think I'm being cornered here. I think I'm being cornered.
There's a great
I got a question. This is one of my gym members. This is one of my gym members, so she had me write this down so I wouldn't forget.
Oh.
Because
Nice.
she is on one of the earlier points that you made about this strict selective eating. And there were two of them, three of her, her and two other friends.
Uh-huh.
They started a diet that was very restrictive, and they've been seeing the results.
Yeah.
The only problem is that one of the three fell off, not much, but just enough to basically see the reflections of the poor choice in eating after such a strict, restrictive diet, and she blew up like a blimp. And so now the gym member is really frightened now because she knows because of the restrictive dieting is also going to be part of her and her friends' life that haven't done the different diet, and basically it's cutting out all carbs, and they've been
that's what I
seeing
was going to ask.
So they've seen all the I guess the progress pics of where they started and where they are now, but she's afraid of what happens now when she starts having the holiday, the birthdays with the family. Because she has a lot of birthdays at the end of February and toward the middle of March. I think it's up to the 17th. So that's about 8 parties that she's going to be going to. And she's like, with that kind of, family and friends and atmosphere and possibly drinking, she is just really frightened. So basically she was on a program. She stayed diligent. She saw the results, but now she's afraid of the outcome when she gets back to society, because I don't think people really understand. They see right now, but they don't see long-term or big picture like you're saying. So how do you keep someone from derailing after basically making a choice to do something that seemed like it was successful, but in the long run it's going to be pretty harsh when, the weight gain starts coming on and not in a good way?
Well, I don't think it has to come on not in a good way. I think she's in a prime spot right now because she's got some level of awareness that this is the possibility. Her friend blew up like a blimp, like you said, but that only happens with something extreme. So because she recognizes that, okay, this could maybe happen, and I'm looking ahead, and I have all of these real-life things that are in situations and events that are going to be happening in my life. I think rather than getting sucked into the fear of this, I'm blowing up, like this was a stupid idea and it's not going to work out, how about I use the fear to do something smart? How about I start working with someone who can kind of begin titrating my carbohydrates, supporting me in a way to titrate those carbohydrates and bring them up to a more optimal level so they're not blowing up. And in the process, learn the appropriate way of eating, the most effective way of eating. She doesn't have to do it on her own. And that isn't the end-all, be-all. Her gaining all of her weight back and more. It doesn't have to be that way. But what I see is just baseline level. It's good that she recognizes that it's not smart.
Just trying to figure out with the rest of us what titrate means, because that's a big word. So I think we might need some clarification.
Small incremental changes, kind of like an IV drip.
Gotcha.
Good analogy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would look at where she's at right now, see that she's recognizing some things, that this is a really healthy level of reflection that she's engaging in, like, okay, yeah, there are some considerations that I didn't consider in the beginning. So now if I were to do this smartly, what would I do? She doesn't have to blow up like her friend. There are some lessons to be learned here.
And I'm wondering if she thinks, she's like, all right, I'm on a really low restricted diet right now on carbs, and we know that none. Okay, well then there we go. We've got a very extreme restriction going on, and you're right. It does sound like your friend Kaelin is going to need some guidance on how to correctly introduce carbs back into her diet.
No, not my. There was no way.
Well, not a training client, but I didn't know if she was a kickboxing in one of your classes or something like that. I'm not suggesting you're her nutrition coach.
Not that kind of diet.
Okay, so I retract that. Kaelin's friend at the gym. It does sound like she's gonna need a lot of support in how to introduce carbs of any kind, because guys, carbs are in everything. You've got your junk carbs, and then you've got your good carbs, but your body's still going to recognize it as a carb. It needs carbs, so she's going to need some help getting that back into her system in a manner to where she doesn't have the balloon effect.
Exactly, and it's possible.
She needs someone to help her titrate.
Titration, yeah.
Titration. I'm going to start using that word now because it was not in my vocabulary before, but I like it.
It is now. Oh yeah.
It is.
We actually get a lot of clients who come to us who have been dieting ketogenically, and I don't know that they've been doing it consistently or that it's been true keto. Because what a lot of people will talk about is they have like a free day, and then I'm thinking, well, then it's not keto.
Right.
No. It's not keto. But completely possible to move them into new carbohydrate levels and not have them blow up. It's just that it has to be methodical and careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
All right. I think that this is a really good kind of segue into the next thing that I think is really important, and it's that it feels to me like she's ready to jump ship. Like she's that scared and fearful about the possibility that
all of them really.
Yeah. In that sort of situation, it's just like, okay, now we let everything go. All the things that we've been implementing, like I'm just like I'm just going to purge all of that stuff and start over. Well, the thing I'm thinking is that we too often we leave the door open for quitting. And we view a failure, like she might view this as a failure, as a bad decision, or we view a mistake, or we view a setback as some sort of personal weakness. And that doesn't really set us up well for continuing, getting back up with some level of resilience and equanimity. Hey, there's another word. Put that in your vocabulary book.
Equanimity. Along with titrate. All right, I'm on it.
It's one of my favorite words. It means balanced mind.
Yes.
But so this is what I'm saying is this is a misstep. There was a misstep for her. I missed something in the beginning, or I didn't take something into consideration. I acted impulsively. I jumped on something that, I knew I was going to get results really, really fast with, but I didn't consider the longer-term consequences. Okay, there was a misstep. We need to be able to look at missteps as information to move closer to what's really important. And so she can choose right now, in this space that she's in, to look at it from that perspective, or she can continue acting impulsively and just throw her hands up in the air and act in fear and make another poor decision.
Gotcha. So this is so I've got a question that's leading into a bunch of other questions that are starting to build up. So I'm going to try and group them together, and maybe you can help us navigate through all this growing up, because this is actually a pretty good case study. So I don't know if this gal started on this diet with her friends as a New Year's resolution, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to use it as a case study.
No.
Let's say she did. Okay, no. Well, I'm going to say she did.
Okay.
So to go along with the theme of our show, so we've got this. Let's pretend. So we've got this diet that we started because we want to lose this weight, and so you talked about cultivation. So we've got these quick results here. We don't always see that, but we're talking about cultivation and titrating and equanimity. Yes. So what are some of the tools to cultivating? Because Angie, one of our listeners, is asking about the meditation aspect of a post you put out there, DKP, about meditation, health, and wellness. Yes. So I'm wondering if maybe that's a tool to cultivation. And then our New Year's resolution extreme dieter, she's wanting to know, how does she get back the trust that has been lost? And these all kind of seem like cultivation tools to me to stay on task till we get to the harvest, the true end harvest. So I don't know if that makes sense, but kind of lead us through this farming and New Year's resolution analogy we got going on right here.
Okay, so let's see. I think you mentioned meditation. You're asking for tools, strategies, tactics, right? That's going to help us navigate and move through that longer period of time, that incubation, cultivation period. So you mentioned meditation, and call it mindfulness, call it whatever you want to, but what it is not, it's learning how to navigate and be with intense emotion, feeling, and thoughts that oftentimes snag us and pull us in and cause us to act in ways that aren't necessarily effective, right? So we experience a high level of stress or anxiety. What's the number one thing that you typically hear from someone who is dieting for fat loss when they experience stress or anxiety?
They want to eat.
Yeah, emotional eating. So I just did a talk on this today within our client, the Diet Doc Life Athlete Tribe. And so one of the strategies, and you can learn this through meditation, but it's not, you don't have to do meditation to learn it, is to begin understanding how emotion manifests or arises or erupts, however you want to say it, within you. So stress is a perception. Stress is what I choose to call an event that produces some level of energy based on the circumstances of my situation. I don't have to call it stress. I could say something just occurred that has me experiencing some level of unpleasantness or discomfort. Doesn't that sound different than I'm stressed?
Yes.
So my point is we can begin to understand ourselves a bit better by learning how our bodies tell us something is occurring. Because emotion is energy. It's just energy in motion in our bodies. It moves, it shifts. You know, how do you know you feel something?
Wow.
If I said, how do you know that
you react?
You
react to it. I don't know. You feel. That is a tough question. Kaelin, I'm going to let you field that one.
Oh, I just said that. Don't leave me out of there.
Because I don't have an answer. That's not going to sound probably incredibly stupid, but I think you react to it. I mean, that's how you feel it, so you respond.
Okay. So, yes, that is how that's how it happens for most people. There's an emotion, and when we react, there's some sort of a behavior, right? So I'm sitting at dinner with my partner, and he has not asked me yet how my day went. I'm getting irritated. So I react. When are you going to ask me how my day went? That's not going to go over well. There's an alternative to that, to just reacting to an emotion, right? It's, I'm noticing I'm getting a little tense right now. I can feel my face getting hot. My chest feels tight, and my breathing rate is going up.
My fist is balled up.
Our bodies are what let us know that there is an emotion occurring, that energy is shifting in some way. So when I ask you the question, how do you know you're anxious or that there's anxiety present? Well, my body tells me, like my palms sweat. I mean, KP said it in the very beginning when he was singing. How did he know that there was some shift in energy? He was sweating.
Yes, I was.
He didn't react and say, oh my God, I'm so stressed, I can't do it, I'm not going to sing. No, it's not happening. That would be a reaction that wouldn't necessarily be effective. Or he's sweating, he feels some level of unpleasantness. It's like, I'm sweating. Where's the cake?
Yes. And the
Where's
pie.
the snickerdoodle donut?
Right?
Yes.
So what meditation teaches us, what mindfulness can help us practice, is learning how our bodies let us know what is happening. And it's almost like we can take a step back and be like, oh, okay, that's an experience of tension in my chest. Okay, I'm sweating a little bit. I'm fidgeting. And then in that situation where I'm like, I notice the thought in my mind, when is he going to ask me how my day went? Like, I can just notice the thought and not get snagged by it and have that thought become literally what comes out of my mouth. Just like, oh, that's interesting. I'm expecting him to ask me how my day went. Why would I expect that from him? So we have this like healthy level of distance from it. The thought isn't a directive or something to be believed, because literally that thought is just a story. The situation was we were sitting there eating. That's it. And yeah, fact, he had not asked me, but it became a story that was somehow bad or wrong and wasn't the way it was supposed to be. We cling to things being different than they are. And it's that clinging that like, it should be this way. He should be acting that way. Like, I should have this. I should have lost that weight because I've been working so freaking hard. That's just a story. It's a story we tell ourselves, but when we cling to it and we grasp it and we believe it, it creates such suffering, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Yeah. And so what if we were just like this girl? She's like, gosh, I'm noticing that I'm getting really upset about this. Rather than getting really upset about it and getting ready to throw in the towel and, oh my God, I made such a big mistake, and reacting, how about responding in a more compassionate, kind, almost forgiving way towards herself, like, okay, I get that I was feeling desperate and I really wanted to lose weight quickly, and I'm noticing if I go back, I was swept up and my friends getting really excited about it too, and there was this frenzy and we all felt connected and we could do it if we did it together, and I got swept up in that. And I didn't stop and just kind of take a second and breathe and ask if this was really something that was going to be good for me.
Yes.
So there is, I think, Desiree and KP, this is not easy stuff. I mean, I can talk like it's super simple, but, you know, in that moment when I'm sitting at the dinner table and I'm having those thoughts, I'm like, I had to get up from the table because I didn't want to say that.
True.
I didn't want that to come out of my mouth. And I do this for a living. I meditate daily. I practice mindfulness, this non-judgmental awareness of thoughts, of feelings, okay, I see they're there. I don't have to react to them. They don't have to turn into behavior. They're not directives to go do something. I do this.
It can be that quick, right? It can happen just that fast.
It can. It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And so part of it is recognizing that it's going to, too. Okay. and it's okay. We can begin again. That's one of the lovely pieces about meditation that I so respect is part of the practice is, because when we're focusing on one thing in meditation, what we're doing is we're substituting an object for that we're going to put our attention on for the discursive mind. The mind is always going, right? It's always running and flitting and jumping from one thing to the next. That's what the mind does. In meditation, we train, what we're doing is we're practicing when we notice it's lost somewhere, we bring our attention back to the one thing, whether it's the feel of our breathing or a mantra or an image or whatever, okay? So it's not like when I'm sitting in meditation, my mind is quiet and isn't doing anything. The mind, that's what the mind does. So like you said, KP, it happens, and it can happen very quickly where we do get lost, we don't notice we're lost in that thought, and we say something or we do something and that we're going to regret. But there's always the begin again. Every time I get lost when I'm sitting in meditation, I notice it. Then I say to myself, thinking, and then I escort my attention back to the one thing, and you begin again. And then you get lost again, and then you come back again, and you begin again and again and again and again. And that is the same thing we started this conversation with, which is the cultivation piece. We begin again. Yes. We constantly recommit. Every day we go out to the field and we look at how it's doing. Okay, we're progressing. Oh, it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but I know that I'm watering it. Okay, I'll be patient. And we do the daily disciplines. I wake up every morning. First thing I do is I work out. Then I stretch. Then I meditate. I get done in the morning when I have more control over my schedule than at any other time in the morning. I get done then what needs doing. It's not sexy. It's not super fancy. It's just, it's a discipline. And what happens when I just do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again is it compounds, just like the penny.
It becomes habit. True.
It becomes a habit, it builds momentum, and then I get results.
I think you've tied it all together in such just a really nice bow, because we want things to be simple, but we want them simple in the wrong way. We want them simply, like we said, I want to take something and let it happen. I don't want to work at it. Work is called work because it's work. That's why there's a workout. And, when you talk about just starting again, that just really resonates with me why so many New Year's resolutions fail, because we don't start again. We come into a bump, and we stay on that bump. We don't get back on the bandwagon. And I think the mindfulness is a really unique piece that you bring to it as well, because that's going to be so important to keep you in the right mind frame to be able to get back up and keep starting again when things don't go the way that you intended them to do. So, and this next question actually ties in, so I want to make sure that I get this in here before we stray too far off, but this one is from Belinda, and I think this has to deal with the mindfulness of it too, but she's saying self-image of huge, self-image, I think she's saying, is huge with women as compared to how guys are viewed. I just need to know how to keep it balanced to where I don't get manic, depressive, and derail myself. And I feel that's where, like, the mindfulness can be so important.
Yeah. How are you deciphering that question? What is it exactly that she wants to know?
I would say, and Kaelin, you can hop in too. I mean, I think she's feeling like the image of how society expects women to look.
Mm-hmm.
There's more pressure for women to meet that image than there is of men. That's how I'm reading that. Kaelin, how are you deciphering that?
So I think I have, if I can, share what I'm thinking. So I don't necessarily agree that it's harder for women. I think there are a lot of pressures that men feel as well, but I don't think that matters. I think what matters more is that, what did you say her name was?
Belinda.
Belinda. Is that Belinda begins to pay attention to what she is feeding herself with in terms of information and images and societal expectations. Like, is she looking at Instagram and other women's bodies? What is she looking at fashion magazines?
Heck yes.
Okay, so I don't look at that crap. I don't want to feed my mind with these unrealistic ideas and images of what I quote unquote should look like. My body is like no one else's. I'm the only person who can determine what I feel best doing, what I feel best eating, how I feel best moving. All of that needs to come from me. Now, I recognize that there are cultural ideals and societal messages that are sent everywhere, but we have to be responsible consumers. We don't have to look at it. And we can, when it's out there, we can stand up for something different. I don't follow bodybuilding pages as much as I practice this stuff. Like, if I get sucked into a bodybuilding feed on Instagram or something and I'm looking at all these women's bodies, I can tell you, because I feel it. We're talking about energy, right? And emotion. Like, I start contracting inside and getting tight. And then I start doubting things. Oh my gosh.
No, I'm with you.
Shut it off.
I've experienced that.
Yeah. No, we want, thoughts and emotions create different sorts of reactions in our bodies when that energy changes. They contract or they expand, right? They contract or expand. Belinda can start paying attention to the things she's paying attention to and how she's spending her time. And if she starts to notice, like, wow, I am tight and constricted and I'm doubting myself, like, okay, let's take stock. Let's start filling our minds and fueling our bodies and minds with other things that expand us and open us up and help us to feel lighter and healthier and happier and more joyful and forgiving and compassionate and loving towards ourselves instead of beating ourselves up all the time. And start taking notice, too, of what her self-talk is like. Because, if it's really critical and if it's really negative, she needs to realize that that's not her voice. Those aren't her words.
Yeah.
No. When she came out of the womb, no, she wasn't criticizing herself like that. It's other people's voices, society's voices, whoever's, mentors, caregivers. I don't know where they came from, what she's reading, but it's not hers.
And I think that's so true. And I mean, she's feeling like she knows a lot of women that she's either in the fitness industry or follows, or I'm not sure. And it's feeling that most of them aren't matching the posts or the image they're portraying on social mediums. And a lot of time that's not true. And it makes me remember the time I had someone tell me, they're like, Desiree, I mean, yes, you compete and you post pictures of when you're competing, but you also need to post pictures of when you're in your off season, which I haven't really, but I think I have some, and yeah, I don't look exactly the same as I do when I'm competing. Who can? You know, except for Kaelin. He just looks huge all the time. But I mean, muscular all the time, not huge like that. But anyway, I don't know. If you go back and watch some of the interviews, folks, you'll see my face is very full. Over this past year, I've probably weighed more than I've weighed ever, and you know, so you work on that. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Kaelin?
Well, I was gonna say that aside from me looking huge. I don't really hear those words anymore. They don't really bother me, and I don't take them in the wrong way. But I noticed that I think what she's saying about the people not matching up what they say is I think she's put competitors in a realm that doesn't really exist for us either, is that we're still human. And there's nothing like super special about what we do other than the dedication that we commit to it. So, you know, like BKP was saying, you know, if we're not having the proper self-image for ourselves, then how can we ever really hold anybody in the light that they should be addressed as well? Am I missing this, BKP, or is this tying into what you were saying?
No, I think what both of you are saying is really, really relevant in terms of. I've encountered that too. I see an image and then the caption or the post that's attached to the image doesn't go. It's like it doesn't fit. You're giving me it's mismatched in some way. Again, I think it comes back down to if she's recognizing that what she's paying attention to isn't fueling her in a positive and healthy way, then stop looking at it. I see it as very simple. That's up to her. She's not going to change what these people are posting. She needs to ask herself if it's worth looking at to be at her best. And this can be difficult if your entire network is these people who are projecting negative body image and talking about things that you recognize aren't helpful to you, and it's tough. That's really, really tough. You're in a position where you're now in a position in a space where you're feeling around in the dark and asking yourself wow, okay, I'm noticing this is not comfortable for me anymore. Maybe it was before. Maybe I was okay with it before, but it's not now. Not sure what to do with it. But just that recognition in itself is really healthy. Okay, I'm just going to pay attention to this now and kind of live into the question of what I'm noticing. I don't have to make any decisions right now to stop hanging out with certain people or to stop looking at certain things, but I'm going to have a new level of awareness about how it's affecting me. Because ultimately it's her health, psychological and physical health.
Yes.
Ultimately, that is what it comes down to, and I think that is a good note for us to wrap on for tonight.